Hello YouTube and welcome to this episode of How It Works. In this episode we'll be looking at the more advanced topics of a carburetor. Okay, so before we get started into the advanced topics of our carburetor, you should know one thing, that is that these carburetors are universal. So even if you have a Fiat Padmini Premier carburetor, or you have a Fiat 118NE carburetor, or you have the Maruti Suzuki 800 carburetor, or you have the Zen carburetor, or you have an steam carburetor. These are all interchangeable. They have the same base plate, that is, you still have 4 holes in the bottom. The same for steam, the same for gypsy, the same for everything, as well as the same top part, that is, your air intake is going to be the same size. The only difference that you get is in the jet sizes, the pilot jet sizes, and the size of the hole and the size of the main jet, and a few holes. That's the only difference, but then they are swappable. You can put one on the other and you can choose a bigger carburetor for more performance. Okay, let's start the advanced discussion with main jets over here and pilot jets over here. The main jet is the one that is located inside the hole, as you can see. These are the copper ones and these are the main jets. When your petrol gets stagnated into this, then because of the vacuum it enters through this hole and gets into your pilot jet. This is called the pilot jet and it comes in various sizes. And for a Maruti 800, the main jets are of size 91 and something like that, and your pilot jets, the primary pilot jet is 40, whereas the secondary pilot jet is 55. So you might be wondering what is the number 40 and what is the number 55, and if you can clearly see here, I have a jet size of 80, and the reason for this is simple. The bigger the number of your pilot jet, it means that the more petrol comes into the engine, the more capability to drop petrol into the engine. And so when you're accelerating that extra bit harder, then instead of your engine starving for petrol, you will still have ample amount of petrol. But that also means that there is a drawback. That is, if you go on increasing the size of these jets, it means that there will be more petrol coming in even at idle. And so as your performance increases, the mileage decreases proportionately. And so it's a good idea to first of all understand what application do you want. If you want a high mileage application, then it's a good idea to have a smaller jet. If you want a high power application, then it's a good idea to have a bigger jet. But please do note two things. The first one is that as you keep on decreasing the jet size, as instead of 40, if you try to bring a jet of 35, then you have lesser petrol coming, so your pickup will also get adversely affected. So you will feel that the car is very slow, it's not quick to respond, and so you'll start hating your car. And so that's the first thing you should know. When you're going for mileage, don't go too extreme so that your car will feel boring to drive and you won't drive it at all. And on the other hand, don't go a size too big, because you see your engine has only a capacity of 800cc engine or some other cc. If you are using a Zen, it's 1000cc. If you are using an steam, it's 1300cc. And so beyond a certain level, it's useless. Even if you keep on increasing the jet size, there would be no difference that it would make. But then you might be wondering, so which jet size do I change? Do I change the primary jet, that is the smaller one, or do I change the secondary jet? If you want performance at all times, that is, if you want even when you are at normal idle RPMs and you just have your throttle just barely touching, even then if you want a good performance, then go ahead and modify your primary jet. It's a good idea if you're trying to use it for racing purposes, or for you if mileage does not make any difference, then go for the modification of your primary jet. On the other hand, if you want high top end RPM, that is if you floor your throttle, if you have buried your throttle pedal, only then you want high performance, you want all the good stuff to come, then try increasing your secondary jet. Your secondary jet, if it is bigger, it means that after 40%, as you keep on pressing your accelerator even harder down, then you have a very big jet, and so it pours more petrol into the engine, and so you'll get more power. I would personally suggest that leave the primary jet alone, but then you can go about modifying your secondary jet. The bigger the secondary jet is, the more noticeable gain you get it once in a while when you want to floor your car and get passed by everyone, and then it helps. So get a bigger secondary jet, but not a bigger primary jet. Reserve this for your mileage. In case you want to go for extreme mileage configuration, then you can also block your secondary jet. That is, your secondary jet is the one with the bigger hole, and so plug this out, and here you have and this is called the pilot jet. So plug this pilot jet out and remove the main jet that you have here, the copper one that you have. Remove this and replace it with a screw, or put some M-seal on. And so if you block this hole and this opening, it means that you have lesser air, and so you are forcing your engine to take only lesser fuel. And if you take that, then your mileage will be very much better than what you used to get, but then it will make the car very slow. While you are swapping your primary and secondary pilot jets, it's also a good idea to change your main jet over here. The main jet should also be a size or two larger than your primary and your secondary jet, because the petrol must go in through this main jet and then come to the to this pilot jet. And so if enough petrol can't get into this main jet because you have a smaller hole main jet, then there won't be enough petrol coming into the pilot jet. Another important parameter that you can control is this screw over here. This screw over here sends air in through this circuit and sends it into your accelerator pump opening. That is, when you press the accelerator pedal, then you have this pump which activates and squirts in some amount of petrol. But do you want only petrol to come in, or do you want some mixture of air to come in through this circuit as well? That is governed by this screw over here. The more you turn the screw outward, the more you are allowing the air to come in along with the petrol. The more you tighten it, then it's only petrol that's going to be squirted in. You might be thinking, okay, so I want extreme power, and so I'll just screw it all the way in so that I get only petrol. But then there is also another twist. The more the petrol starts falling in without any mixture of air, it means that you have lumps, big droplets of petrol getting into the engine, and so it won't mix with the air properly and you won't get enough combustion. That will also decrease your mileage, as well as your performance gains won't be that much because that petrol has not burnt yet. So it's a good idea to leave it at 1.5 rotations anti-clockwise from the fullest tight position. And one more thing that you can do is that if you want more performance, then instead of having a vacuum plunger here, that is, you had your vacuum pump which regulates the secondary accelerator valve, and so instead of putting a vacuum pump here, you can directly give a direct contact from here to here, a linkage. And if you put a link like this, then as this keeps on opening, then this keeps on opening as well. People have tried it, although I don't know. What I have done is that I have retained the vacuum arrangement. In case you are looking out for mileage, then disconnect this vacuum plunger from here, that is, remove it and leave it dangling so that this remains forever closed. So the secondary valve remains closed, there is no petrol squirting in from the secondary valve, and so it's only one part of your carburetor that works. So less petrol, less air, more mileage. One area of tuning that you can also do is increase the actual hole size. This is the hole size of an steam carburetor, and this is the hole size of a Maruti carburetor. Now pay attention to the primary hole and see which one is bigger. If you can clearly see, then the steam carburetor's primary hole size is bigger, and the bigger hole size, it means the better airflow, and the better airflow means more performance. On the other hand, if you want more mileage, then decrease your hole size, and so even if you have a 1.3 liter engine 1300 cc, you can still put on a Maruti 800 carburetor on top of it.